Hey, today I'm talking about Joe D'Amato's Frankenstein 2000. A low-budget, strange, obscure, occasionally gory, incoherent horror film from the maker of Anthropophagus, Beyond the Darkness, Absurd. Frankenstein 2000 was Joe D'Amato's final completed feature film in the horror genre, so that alone makes it worth a look. Joe D'Amato made Frankenstein 2000 around 1992 on a break from producing and directing lots and lots of hardcore and softcore sex films. Now this here is a DVD from Raro Video. This is the Italian edition. There aren't too many editions of Frankenstein 2000 around. It's a reasonably obscure title. There are some German DVDs, and then there is this one. And this is a pretty nice package. It has a booklet with some text about the genesis of the film, and there is an interview with the film's writer Antonio Tentori. We'll talk about Antonio Tentori a bit later in this video. Let's talk about the cast of Frankenstein 2000 first. Now the lead role is played by Cinzia Monreale, who you may remember from The Beyond and Beyond the Darkness. Cinzia Monreale is the face of Frankenstein 2000 together with Donal O'Brien. Donal O'Brien was disabled. He had a pronounced limp at the time, so he was like a disabled person, and Joe D'Amato cast him precisely because he was perfect for the role of the monster in Frankenstein 2000. Donal O'Brien is this reanimated corpse. He's limping in a very convincing manner because he's not acting. It's actually his that was his physical state at the time. When you watch Frankenstein 2000, it makes you think about two films. It makes you remember Beyond the Darkness, due to the presence of Cinzia Monreale, who was the love interest, the dead and embalmed love interest, the corpse in Beyond the Darkness. And here in Frankenstein 2000, Cinzia Monreale is in a coma. Most of the film she's in a coma, and just like in Fulci's Enigma, she is using her brain waves, her powers to have revenge on those who have put her into a coma. And she does it by bringing the corpse of her friend back to life, this ex-boxer played by Donal O'Brien, and this zombified Frankenstein's monster chases all the baddies around and kills them in some strange, sometimes gory, sometimes silly ways. Now there is also an actor from Fulci's Enigma in Frankenstein 2000. In Enigma there was this guy who plays the gym instructor. He's called Riccardo Acerbi, and in Frankenstein 2000, Riccardo Acerbi appears as Cinzia Monreale's boyfriend or husband. So he's one of the good guys this time. So we have definite connections here to both Enigma and Beyond the Darkness. Frankenstein 2000 is a bit ridiculous at times. It doesn't take itself very seriously, and it's a very unpretentious film, which is why I find it so endearing. It doesn't claim any originality, it doesn't try and break, any new ground. It merely sums up decades and decades of Italian genre cinema in one final sloppy but charming film. So it's a little bit like a swan song, I guess. It's not like it was intended to be Joe D'Amato's swan song in the horror genre, but that's the way things turned out to be. So if you could enjoy films like Cat in the Brain, sloppy films like maybe Andrea Bianchi's Massacre, then chances are you'll find something to enjoy also in Frankenstein 2000, because it's a film which is obviously made quickly and without too much ambition, but it has lots of small charming things. For those who are already into European genre cinema, this is a little treat despite the flaws. Apparently the plot of Frankenstein 2000 was originally written and conceived by Michele Soavi, yet his name is not credited. Apparently the treatment has been reworked and it has mutated over several rewrites, and so Michele's name was dropped. And instead we have Donatello Donati, who was D'Amato's partner, and Antonio Tentori. Antonio Tentori is a very special figure in the Italian genre film panorama, himself a passionate fan of mystery and horror and the fantastic. Tentori has had the privilege of working with many great Italian directors in their twilight years. For example, he's written things for Fulci, he's written things for D'Amato, he's written things for Bruno Mattei. Especially with Bruno Mattei, they have collaborated on like several films, and Tentori not only wrote things together with Mattei, but he's actually been on set and acted as Mattei's assistant. They went to the Philippines together and shot stuff in the Philippines, so Tentori is obviously a very interesting person. It would be nice to hear his thoughts today, looking back at his career. And today Tentori is still going strong. He's collaborating with Italy's younger generation of filmmakers, people who are inspired by the greats of Fulci and D'Amato and so on, but who are completely independent, who self-shoot digitally and self-fund their films. So it's a true indie wave of young Italian genre cinema. And Tentori is making cameos in those films and co-writing them. So it's obviously a very passionate person who's given a lot of his time throughout his life to the preservation and to keeping Italian cinema alive throughout the decades, from its death in the early 90s through to its kind of decomposition in the 2000s, and through to its slow rebirth in the form of indie films, self-distributed films today. What I really love about Frankenstein 2000, besides it being goofy, unpretentious and quite violent in places and quite stylish visually, is the music. The score is by Piero Montanari, who also made music for Ghost House. And Montanari's score really helps bring that special vibe to Frankenstein 2000. It's a film where you can tell, yeah, it's from the 90s, so the fashions and the interiors, everything reflects that slightly, let's say, bland decade compared to the previous, to the 80s. But still, Frankenstein 2000 has nice colors. It's shot on 35mm, so it looks very, very handsome, with nice eye-popping colors, and there is that beautiful atmospheric music. There are several inventive kills, some are more inventive than others, and the special effects are all over the place. Some of them are alright, some of them are frankly laughable, and some are quite, some things are really surprisingly tame. Coming from D'Amato, don't expect a bloodbath here on the level of Absurd or Anthropophagus. This is, something very, very tame. There is blood, but it doesn't really flow freely. Instead, we get some dream sequences which are obviously used as padding, but still charming, because there are several decapitations in these dreams, and they are not very convincing, but it's just nice to have every few minutes there is going to be a dream with a decapitation in it. So Frankenstein 2000, I wouldn't recommend it to somebody who's new to Italian horror and who is not yet fallen in love with the genre, or is not yet obsessed with the genre. It might put them off the genre. I would say if you're already into Italian horror and you know what you're after and you know what you're getting, then you can try this as a more obscure film. It's obscure for a reason, because it's quite weak and it came out at the wrong time in Italian film industry. It didn't find a distributor, but still it has the familiar faces, and it has some moments of where the magic almost comes back despite all the limitations, and it also has moments which are really hilariously bad. So it's definitely not a boring film. It's slow paced, but there is atmosphere and there is redeeming factors, and it's just nice to see Cinzia Monreale one more time in a lead role, even though she's dubbed horribly. I mean, her dubbing, her lines, they're even worse than whoever dubbed Laura Gemser in Emmanuel and the Lost Cannibals. It's really a super amateurish delivery, but even then, it's still a film which I find it's a comfort watching on a rainy day, if I'm stressed, if I'm miserable, and if I need to wind down at the end of the day. I might pop this in, Frankenstein 2000, watch maybe 30 minutes of it, and it puts me back into a good mood, because it's like it's a film which doesn't make huge demands on your intelligence. It's not a film with, some kind of groundbreaking storytelling. No, it's quite, it's a plodding, low-budget film, but there is still the Joe D'Amato touch. There is that framing which you recognize the hand of the master there, and it kind of puts you into the mood to rewatch lots of other films. I think this is the greatest quality about Frankenstein 2000. It's like a catalyst. If you don't know what to watch, it can give you ideas. It can tell you, it can suggest, maybe check this one out. So that was me, Alex, with Trash Film Addict. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.